rather on the SPX side of things. So if you deduct 25 points, that was hitting our target number 3880, and it has now come down to 3880. So that would mean about 3860, around that number right now, where yeah, SPX is sitting right now. So let's open up this chart. Natural gas tanking. Yeah, the weather is supposed to be warmer, so it's tanking. True. So SPX, we were looking for a hit of about here, 3880 to about just about here, and then right now on this it doesn't make sense. But SPX will open up somewhere around here, 3860, 3862. As the numbers stand, it's going to hit this second standard deviation. Within this range, it's going to open up here, somewhere about from 3860, 3865. Somewhere within this range, it will open up. And to the upside, very likely it's going to hit this 3874. That clears very likely 3888. So this is the upside trajectory for SPX. And if it comes back down, again, test this 3636, then probably 3830, then very likely 3824 around area. This area is a bounce spot. So that's on the SPX side of things. Let's get into ES. Yes, to the upside again. This right about here, 3893 should get tested, and we should get another resistance level here. If that clears, push all the way into 3905. To the downside, it's gonna it if it starts to come back down, 3873 will get tested again. And if that moves, and then you have the mean to deal with at 3870, that breaches then 3863, that breaches 3860, that breaches 3855. So even to the downside, you have a lot of support all the way through. And if all of these breaches, then expecting a bounce around 3843, that would mean SPX will test about 3820 area again. If this happens, if it takes this path to the downside, that's the immediate trade if anybody is in a trade. And this is the daily chart, and we were looking for, again, let's open up SPX daily chart. It would make it would make sense here. Come on. Right. So the idea was with SPX, if it was supposed to be closing up here above the five, right? The idea was for it to hit the eight, right? 3844, and that was the note that I was putting on, I think, on Friday before the close. So now, if it hits this number and moves above this number, the idea for it is to go all the way here, 3874 to 3882, which it did test in the overnight session. Futures were hitting 30. What is this? 3905. That was a high on the futures. So if you take out 20 points from there, that would be about 3880. So SPX was hitting 3880, and very likely again, there's a bright chance of SPX testing this number again. 3880 area, probably about here, and we'll see what happens. And any further upside, if it clears this 3880 area, then we'll see further upside, probably a test of 3892 and this 3898 to 3905 on the SPX side of things. uh, this looks, I mean, if it comes back all the way up to 3905, then that will be the mean reversion. Mean reversion will be done, and it's been overdue for a mean reversion pretty long time. Last time it hit the mean was all the way here on the December 14. So we might get a mean reversion, but for that to happen, it needs to uh, go up above the 21, 3880, 3885 area. It needs to clear that. Then there's a bright chance of it going all the way up into 3905 area. Right. And to the downside, if it starts to push to the downside, then we'll have this 3844 to 3840, 3838 area, 3844 to 3838. It's been a long time that that area has proven to be a resistance multiple times. So if it comes back down, I'm watching the 8 on the daily. If it comes down below 8, then we'll have a test of the 5 again, 3834 area. If that breaches, then the first standard deviation 3820, 3825 area. I'm not sure if it's going to breach that way today, but let's say if it does breach, then probably downside is 3745. Although I'm not pricing in, this it's good to have this picture painted. So probably around here is another bounce 3820, then probably about here 3815. So even to the downside, we have a lot of support all the way down here till 3740. Again, not really plotting 3740, not really plotting anything below 3814, 3815 right now. In fact, if it comes down, I'm pretty sure that it's going to bounce around the 3840 area, 3840 to 3844 to 3838. That area is going to be a pretty decent bounce area. Now coming back to this chart, and we knew it was going to go back into 5 and 8, and if it clears here, then this should act as pretty decent resistance. So what does that mean? 3925 area. So if futures come up all the way 40 points from here and test this 3925 area, that means we'll have SPX hitting 3900 area. So, and if it clears here, this should act as pretty decent resistance, 3924, 3925 area. If that clears, then ES is going to test this 3936 area right about here, 3930 to 3935. So that would leave SPX around 3905 to 39 area, 3900 to 3905 area. And if I'm thinking that if ES comes down all the way up into 3925 area, should act as pretty decent resistance and it should get pushed down from here. How deep of a pushback? I don't know. Probably it'll come back and test this 3904 area again on ES side of things. So again, so 3926. If ES comes up all the way into 3926, that would mean 3900 to 3905 on SPX and probably a push down from there. And if the push down all happens all the way down into 3904 for ES, that would mean the push down will on the SPX will have about 3880 again, 3875 to 3880 again. Right. So that's the bigger picture. To the downside, we still have pretty decent support around this 3877 area for ES. So about 3850 area for SPX. Still have some decent support there. Not again, not plotting anything below 3818 as of now for SPX. If it reaches below 3818, sorry, 3815, which is this number here, right about here, 3820, then 3815 area. If it breaches below there, then we'll reassess the situation to the downside. But I doubt it's going to happen. Let's see, why am I saying that? Apple. Apple is the reason. If you're looking at Apple, give me a second, guys. Right. So Apple is the reason I'm looking at, and Apple's to be specific. This is the indicator that I'm watching. Apple MACD. Right. So Apple MACD. Take a look at this thing. It is stretched all the way down to this part. The last time it came down all the way here, you can look at what happened with Apple price action. It was hitting this number here, about 135, and it moved all the way here till 157. So last time MACD was that pulled down that far below and it crossed. Apple gave up. Apple pushed up about 20 points. So I'm not sure if that's going to happen with all the data coming up in the next 2 weeks. Even if it doesn't happen, but still I'm thinking that Apple will hold this because the MACD is pulled so far down. Apple will very likely hold this area. So Apple, we were looking for Apple to hit the 5, clear the 5, and then hit the 8. So that's what is happening right now. Apple is hitting the 8, about 130, 140 area, and probably it'll take a breather from there. How deep of a breather, I don't know. Again, we'll see in real time how deep of a breather would that be. Probably around into 130.80, 130.50, and then probably come back down into 130.14 to 130. But if it clears the 8 to the upside here around 131 40 area, then probably we'll have a decent shot at all the way here into 135. Probably this is not a story for today, probably a story for tomorrow or something. 135 60, 135 70. This is coming from the weekly chart. Although the daily chart is telling that there is a bounce incoming, how far of a bounce after the 8 is tested, I am not sure. Again, this 8 needs to be cleared for any further meaningful upside. Probably the next stop would be around 135 area, and that will also be in line with right about here. If it clears this area about 135, then we'll look for a push all the way into 21. Again, this 21 should act as pretty decent resistance around 135, 135, 20 area. As of now, how things stand, I would want to see Apple clear above the 8, around 131.30 to 131.40 area. And then 131.50 would be a psychological level, but there's nothing really there. And very likely, if it clears this and MACD crossover happens on the daily, we might start to see some sort of a trend beginning here. Again, the next 2 weeks we have pretty decent data coming out. So let's see how that plays out. Right. And on the bigger picture, if after maybe if maybe I don't know, Apple gets pushed down from here at the 8, or even gets pushed down from the 5 or top of here. Probably, I don't know, Q1 results might push Apple all the way down here into the 200 moving average, about 113 to 114 area. Again, as of now, this is not the plan. This is not going to happen today. More or less, it's some major data point needs to come out, and that should push it down here. This and this selling, if Apple needs to get pushed down all the way into 113, or even into that 120 area, there has to be institutional selling. And as of now, institutions doesn't seem to be interested in selling Apple. They're still holding, and mainly Warren Buffett. That guy is still holding that major stake in Apple. So let's see how that plays out, and if institution starts to liquidate their Apple position, very likely Apple will slide all the way down here into 113, 120 being a major support area on the higher time frame, the monthly time frame. About here, this area. 120 is still a pretty decent support that breaches here into 117. Probably this is the number that we are looking at. If institutional selling starts to happen, it's not far off about 20 points from where we are right now, give or take 20 points. Right, so that's a bigger picture. And if Apple starts to move to the upside, the beyond the daily 8 here, then we'll see some pretty decent upside, about another 4 points on Apple. That will push our target into, or rather close to, for ES, rather, it will push it closer to this number. Right about here, 39.25 area. If ES clears there, then 39.33. So I'm still looking for an upside here, unless Apple starts to break to the downside. I'm still looking for an upside. And let's go here with Apple. Apple is hitting resistance after resistance on the lower time frame as well. Anytime you see this happens, Apple kind of comes back down. That's just how technicals work. Again, it is hitting a major resistance here. So if it and then if you're operating on Apple, operate with the higher time frame, the daily perhaps. And if it starts to gets pushed down from the 8, very likely there's a breather somewhere about here. So let's see how that plays out. Next is DXY. This chart is pretty important. DXY shot up $1 from the lows, and that's way too much actually for DXY. But the other side of the thing is US 10 is pushing down. So the idea here is for DXY, this DXY $1 push to the upside. We were looking forward for that 38.70, right about what? Sorry, 104.70 area, but it cleared that, pushed all the way up here into the first standard deviation, coming back down. Look at this chart here. So we still are looking for a bounce based on what it is doing here. All the overbought, sorry, all the oversold signals on all the on all of almost all the technical indicators here. and we are this is the major line that we're watching, the 50 EMA and the 50 SMA. If it clears there, which it did clear, and came back down, and we're watching this number again, 104.65 area. We want to see it below there. If it pushes above this 105.60, sorry, 104.60, then it's going to go all the way up here into 105.10, and probably into 104 105.31. If it takes this path to the upside, probably into 105.30, or the rather basically the weekly 8, then probably it's going to get pushed down. And we knew this was going to bounce at some point, and it did bounce today, and that is still not translating into. Yesterday night, I was watching the futures trade. It did get pushed down. Immediately, it got pushed down. As soon as you saw DXY moving up, futures immediately got pushed down into negative, actually, negative 15 or 18. But then futures came back up as the Asian market started to push. So that's what is happening right now. I'm still watching this chart. This chart is still not translating into the risk assets getting pushed down as of now, but we are still monitoring that situation. And I'm watching oil, and I'm watching US 10 as well. So let's look at US 10 here. And if US 10 comes back down here, breaches below this 3.72 area, then very likely it's going to come back down into this 3.70, and very likely push down all the way here into 3.59. 3.59 doesn't seem like a case for today, but we'll keep an eye on that. For now, this is the line we are watching. We want to see US 10 breach below this 3.73. If that breaches, then very likely push all the way into 3.70. Very likely it's going to hold this 3.70, and after it holds that 3 point after, we'll see a bounce around here. I think 3.70 bounce. If it breaches there, then we're going to see more upside in the markets. And I think this will, if it breaches below here and starts to pull down into 3.7, then very likely we'll see DXY also follow it to the downside. And Asian currencies are still getting stronger. And I'm not sure. I think this why is this dollar pushing higher today? Maybe maybe because I'm not sure. I'm not sure the basic reason why DXY is pushing higher. But as the day goes by, I'm sure there we'll figure out what's happening with that. But look at DXY here on the 1 hour chart, and this is the chart that I've been watching. Uh, and uh, and when the DXY was pushing higher, obviously the market was going down, and it started coming down, and now you see the futures pushing higher and higher. So again, the same thing here. The technicals are overbought. Technicals are overbought, coming back down. This was the main line that I was watching. The baseline on the half trend, it broke down, and it came back down into 5 8. If it breaks the 8, very likely it's going to go down all the way here into 104.17 or something like that. Bright chances of that happening. And the mean is sitting all the way down here at 103.98. So if DXY starts to push down into the mean, and it's going to bounce here around 104.15 area, then we still have some more support after it hits this 21 on the hour. Very likely it's going to hold here, then probably slowly push down all the way down here into the mean. If DXY takes this path to the downside, and especially comes back down into this 21, around 104.16, 104.15 area, then you will see a pretty decent push to the upside in the equity markets, or rather the risk assets. So this is what we want to see it do. And let's say if it doesn't take this path to the downside, and if it starts to bounce to the upside, especially beyond this 104.80, 104.70 number, then very likely market will start to again take a pause. Right. Let's get into some VIX here. VIX, I've been watching VIX. It was up about 7%. Here, VIX is running into clear resistance here, and we want to see. But if VIX clears this resistance to the upside, let's go here. This is a much more better gauge. Let's say VIX clears here, right about here, 2365 to 2370. This number on the weekly chart, the 50 moving on the daily chart, the 50 moving average, then I would assume that people are actually starting to buy into VIX. If it doesn't clear here, So that would just be a technical push on the VIX, and probably it'll start to calm down from there. Push to the downside. If if it gets pushed to the downside, then we're going to see this 2247. Very likely it's going to push into 22 after that. The 5 is sitting all the way here, and very likely it's going to bounce around here, or at least or at least stabilize around here, 2210 area. And if it breaches below that, probably around here, the 8 2196. So I would probably wait for VIX to come back down here either into 22 to 2190 area, for and again look for a bounce for VIX. And looks like next 2 weeks we have a barrage of data coming through, including CPI and FOMC minutes, and then you have GDP print. So let's see how that goes. And watching, if it clears above here, the 50 moving average on the daily VIX, then I'll probably get serious about VIX. And let's go here in the weekly chart. Right. So yeah, definitely I'll take a much more serious look at the VIX after it clears the 50. For now, and the reason is that it is getting oversold and DXY is getting oversold on the weekly as well. So watching those two charts, to the upside, if it clears right about here, let's say right about here, 2265 to 2270, then probably it's going to go hit this number, 2390 area, then probably 2420, and very likely the mean reversion on the week is about 25. So watching this chart, as of now, I'm not really serious about VIX, but if VIX definitely clears this area and the 50 moving average here, then definitely I'm going to buy some VIX, and or rather buy some puts on SPX as well, 3 months out or even 6 months out. Cool thing. Let's get into Tesla a little bit. So here, Tesla, this chart was clearly looking for a bounce, and we got a bounce. The number that we were looking for was 122. It was objectively unable to clear that number. And next, I don't know how the data will come in. Um, uh, so once the day starts, then very likely this line here, which is sitting right now at 126, this very likely will be pushed down, probably into here 124 or something like that. And that's not good. We don't want to see the technicals come down. We want to see the price move up, right? So if the technicals start to come down, that means there is a relative weakness in the price action. But still, let's see if this starts to come down. Very likely, I'm expecting it to hold this 124. Not the price, but this 8 on the week, or on the day. I'm expecting it to come down and sit somewhere about here 124, and we'll see if price clears that 124. And once the market opens, we'll have those lines much better. So once it clears that 8 on the daily, wherever that line would be, then we'll look forward for further upside. Until it clears the 8 on the daily, I'm not looking forward for any further upside. And the covered calls and the naked calls that I sold last week, probably they'll be up close to 50%. So I'll close those trades, and probably again, try to put on the same trade again once it starts to bash its head against the 8 on the daily. On the weekly side of things, Tesla is still looking good for a bounce. This is pretty decent oversold. And if wherever this 8 would be after the open, probably around 124 area, if it clears that number, then I'm still looking for a push all the way here into the weekly 5. The weekly 5 will very likely be pushed down somewhere about here, 139 area. Right now it is sitting at about 146. That will be pushed down because the price has moved down pretty much about 4 points. So very likely this will be pushed down. I don't know how much of a push down. Where will this be? Maybe around this area, 140, probably sub 140. So if Tesla starts a push, then very likely the weekly 5 will get tested this week sometime, because it has gotten so far pretty so far oversold here. Right, let's get here. We don't want to see this. DXY is starting to get oversold and starting to bounce back, and that is pushing the futures down. We don't want to see that. And Apple is again vulnerable here. right here at the 5. It hit the 8 here and starting to take a breather from there. And again, we did not want to see that right away in the morning. So it will be a struggle for it to come back up and clear this number. And till Apple clears this number to the upside, 130, 140, we can't, at least I'm not, I will not be planning for any, decent sides trades to the upside. Right. Anything else? Tesla again on the hourly, it is holding here and bouncing off of it. Okay. It's still holding. So VIX very likely will breach this 5 on the hour, and then very likely push into the 8. So that means we still have a little bit more to the upside if VIX takes this path to the downside. All right. Anything in particular? Can we also look at DKS? What is DKS? Can we review GM? Yeah, get into GM first. Looking at GM. GM probably to the downside. We are still looking at 3154. This is getting crossed to the downside. So, yeah, very likely. I think the first couple of weeks, people will be very cautious about how to trade the market, and probably the data coming out in the next 2 weeks will decide which direction pretty much the Q1 will take. But for now, looks like to the downside is 3150 area. To the upside, if most likely 3450, that clears 3557. Let's look at this chart here. Yeah, I think I think we are in the same boat with majority of the stocks. So let's say if it clears here, the 5, which it is clearing, very likely it's going to hit this number 38 sorry 34 18 34 20, and it'll take a breather from there. And watching the MACD here, if the MACD crosses, very likely it's going to start a short-term trend. And if the 8 clears on the week, which is about 34.25, very likely it's going to go hit this number right about here, 34.50. That clears 35.75, and first push all the way here into 38.20, then probably push down from there, or rather a breather from there around here, 38.20 number. Oh, which is the other one, DKS, that big sporting goods, right? No, yeah, it is big sporting goods. Yeah, this all of these apparel companies, or the companies that sell apparel, they were boosted by Nike results. Basically, that's what happened with DKS and other apparel showrooms. So Nike presented better than expected outlook for this kind of sportswear or whatever that is, this kind of apparel. And not just DKS, but Lulu and others got a boost from it as well. For now, it looks like if it clears here, it's going to go hit this number around 123.74. It The market is open. Let's move into live trading and we'll discuss more there.